Long ago, before the bitterness of old wounds had settled over the lands of men, there stood two kingdoms beneath the same wide sky. To the west lay Valdoria, a kingdom of ancient stone castles, fertile valleys, and proud traditions carried through generations. Its banners flew from tall towers, its knights guarded its roads, and its people looked to their rulers with loyalty and hope. To the east lay Ravenmark, a kingdom of deep forests, rugged hills, and mighty fortresses carved into the dark landscapes of the borderlands. Its warriors were known for their discipline, its nobles for their honor, and its kings for their strength. For many years, Valdoria and Ravenmark were not enemies. They were allies. The bond between the two kingdoms was strengthened by the friendship of their kings, two rulers who believed that peace was greater than conquest, and that trust between kingdoms was worth more than gold. Because of that friendship, their sons grew up together. Prince Edric of Valdoria and Prince Alaric of Ravenmark were never treated as strangers. From their earliest childhood, they walked the halls of each other's castles as if they belonged to both homes. They shared lessons, meals, celebrations, and countless days beneath the open sky. They were raised like brothers. The two princes sat side by side in the castle libraries, their young voices filling the quiet halls as they learned to read ancient histories, royal records, and the writings of scholars who had lived centuries before them. When their lessons ended, they trained beneath the same swordmaster, learning the weight of steel and the discipline required to carry it. They fell in the training yard again and again, bruised and exhausted, only to rise laughing and challenge each other once more. "You are becoming too confident," Edric once said, wiping dust from his cloak after Alaric had knocked him to the ground. Alaric extended a hand and pulled him up. "Only 'cause you keep making the mistake of believing. You can defeat me," Edric laughed. "One day, you will regret teaching me all your tricks." "Perhaps," Alaric replied with a smile, "but that day has not yet come." They rode horses together across endless fields, their voices carried by the wind as they raced beneath the sun. They hunted through the forests that stretched between their kingdoms, following trails through ancient trees and sharing stories beside the warmth of evening fires. They laughed. Together they dreamed together. They believed the future belonged to them. Everyone who saw the two princes standing side by side believed the same thing. One day, Edric would become king of Valdoria. One day, Alaric would become king of Ravenmark, and together, they would lead their kingdoms into an age of peace. When they turned 18, the two princes stood upon an old stone bridge that crossed the river between their lands. The bridge had existed longer than any living person could remember. Its stones were worn smooth by countless seasons of rain, snow, and sunlight. Beneath it, the river flowed endlessly, carrying the waters that separated the two kingdoms and, at the same time, connected them. The evening sky burned with the colors of sunset as Edric and Alaric stood. Together, above the water, there were no armies around them, no nobles, no servants, only the two friends, who had grown up believing nothing could ever break their bond. Edric looked toward the kingdom beyond the bridge. "Whatever happens," he said quietly, "we must remember this moment." Alaric turned toward him. "We will." Edric placed his hand upon the stone beneath them. "We will always protect each other." Alaric nodded. "We will never become enemies." Together, they spoke the final words of their oath. "No one will ever separate us." The promise echoed across the river. At that moment, they truly believed their friendship would last forever. But fate had already begun weaving a different path. That same summer, a young noblewoman named Elinor arrived at King Edric's castle. From the moment she entered the great halls of Valdoria, people noticed there was something different about her. She possessed beauty, but it was not only her appearance that drew attention. Her kindness was remembered long after her face had left a room. Her intelligence was admired by scholars and nobles alike. Her humility made even the proudest servants speak of her with affection. She treated kings and nobles with respect. She treated soldiers with gratitude. She treated servants with kindness. She treated the poor with compassion. To Elinor, a person's worth was not measured by their title, their wealth, or the clothes they wore. It was measured by the heart they carried. Both Edric and Alaric noticed her. At first, neither prince feared what they felt. They laughed about it. They spoke of Elinor as two friends speaking of a passing fascination, certain that something so small could never threaten the bond they had spent their entire lives building. No woman could ever come between us, Alaric said one evening. Edric smiled. Of course not. They believed it. They wanted to believe it. But as the seasons changed, their feelings for Elinor grew deeper. What began as admiration became affection. What began as affection became love. The two princes, who had faced storms, battles of skill, and endless challenges together, found themselves facing the one thing neither had prepared for, their own hearts. Eventually, both Edric and Alaric confessed their love to Elinor. They came to her with honesty, each believing that truth was better than silence. Elinor listened. She understood the weight of their words. She knew the friendship between them was precious, but the heart cannot always choose the path that causes the least pain. In the end, she chose Edric, and Alaric was left with a wound he could not hide. He tried. He smiled when he needed to smile. He stood beside Edric when duty required him to stand there. He told himself that their friendship was stronger than heartbreak, but slowly, something between them began to change. A silence that had never existed before appeared between them. A glance lasted too long. A simple disagreement carried a hidden bitterness. Small misunderstandings became arguments. Arguments became anger. Anger became hatred. The two men who had once promised that no one would ever separate them began to forget the person they had been when they made that promise. Years of friendship were weakened by moments of pain. And then came the stormy night when everything was lost. The sky above, the old stone bridge was black with clouds. Rain fell heavily upon the ancient stones, and thunder rolled across the kingdoms. The same bridge where two young princes had once sworn eternal loyalty became the place where their friendship ended. Edric and Alaric stood facing each other. The words between them were no longer the words of brothers. They were the words of wounded men. "You have taken everything from me," Alaric said. Edric's expression hardened. "You speak as though I betrayed you." "You did." The storm grew louder. "You were my brother," Alaric said. "And you forgot me the moment she chose." You, Edric, stepped forward. "Do not speak of things you do not understand. I understand enough." The anger that had grown for years finally broke free. The argument became violent. Hands moved toward swords. Steel was drawn. The sound of blades leaving their sheaths disappeared beneath the woe. Thunder. Then Elinor appeared. She saw the two men. She cared about standing against each other. Their weapons raised, their hearts consumed by anger. "No," she cried. She ran between them. "Stop." But the storm, the darkness, and the fury of the moment had already carried them too far. A tragic accident happened. Movement, a flash of steel, single terrible moment, and then silence. Elinor fell. The rain continued to fall. Neither Edric nor Alaric understood exactly what had happened. Neither knew whose sword had caused her death. Neither knew the truth. But both looked at the other and saw only the person they believed responsible. That night, Elinor died. And that same night, the friendship between the two princes died forever. Years passed. Edric became king of Valdoria. Alaric became king of Ravenmark. The old bridge between their kingdoms, the bridge where they had once promised eternal friendship, was destroyed. The connection between the two lands was broken, and so were the hearts of the people who lived upon them. The kingdoms became enemies. Walls were built, armies grew. The hatred that began with two wounded kings spread through generations. Children grew up hearing stories of the other kingdom as a place of danger and betrayal. Both kings taught their children that the other kingdom was their greatest enemy. Neither king ever spoke about Elinor again. Neither king ever forgot her. The memory of her remained buried beneath years of anger, pride, and sorrow. And so the world moved forward, carrying a hatred born from a single night when two friends lost everything. The old bridge was gone, the oath was broken, and the truth remained hidden, until the day the children of those two kings would inherit the fate their fathers had created.